Paola Hernandez-Jayo from the San Diego Union-Tribune. Today's guest is from San Diego County Credit Union, San Diego's largest locally owned financial institution, known to many of us as SDCCU. He's going to be sharing information regarding scams and how to protect your finances. Please welcome Marc Bancroft, Business Development Officer at SDCCU. Scams happen every day, but there are ways to try to protect your finances from these scams. Thank you, Marc, for coming with us on the show today to discuss this important topic. We appreciate that you are sharing this valuable information with us. Hi, Marc.
Hi, Paul. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, this is a really important topic right now. I actually had a family member that was just impacted by a scam. So definitely want to get the news out there and share some valuable tips and how to protect yourself, especially now during the holidays, as a lot of us get busier. They might be ordering things online more, doing more shopping. So we're going to have some good tips on how to protect yourself.
Yes, we can go ahead and get started. I know there's lots of scams that happen every day. And as you mentioned right now with the holidays, it's something very important to take into consideration.
Yeah, so and thank you for doing the introduction too. I really appreciate that. We have a series we have every Wednesday called Financial Wellness Wednesdays, and that's open to everybody. Anybody can join. You don't have to be a member. Members included, obviously. So I'll give you some more information and where you can go later for that. But let's go ahead and get started. Our scams and how to protect your finances. So on the very first screen here, especially on the first screen here on Next, we're going to look at how to protect your finances during the coronavirus. So there's my information there, by the way. That was coming up first. I know you did the introduction, but that previous slide has my email on there. If you like to contact me, if you want to go back, it has the mbancroft@sdccu.com. I'm a great resource. I came from the branch. I started my career working in an SDCCU branch, so I'm very familiar with all the products we have. If you have a question about maybe a product you have or about maybe getting a car loan or mortgage, feel free to use me as a reference. I'd love to be that for you. So I'll go ahead and get started here. Now we're in sync now. Okay, so scammers are always on the lookout, for opportunities to take advantage of us, right? Especially when we're vulnerable. During the coronavirus, there was at the beginning, on the onset, there was a lot of information that was trickling in, probably not as quickly as we had hoped. So a lot of times fraudsters would impersonate being someone who they weren't, right? And they took advantage of that. And we're going to go over some of the scams that they were looking at, how they were trying to scam you. So during that time, especially, I preface this because I know a lot of us have become more aware, and I applaud you if you're doing this already, but to never click on anything you're uncertain about, right? They set up fake websites, they sent phishing texts and emails. They try to sell you phony products curing the coronavirus. I mean, Paula, I've heard of as far as them saying to go into a sauna and to take a certain drink and it would take the coronavirus out of your system. It was just a lot of lavish claims, right? So in this presentation, we're going to go over some current scams and how to protect yourself. So that's what we're going to do here. And I have a lot of great information and links I can share. So if you do see something that's suspicious, what you can do about it, right? A lot of good things we'll go over. So on the next slide, we're going to go to this. I mentioned this, I alluded to this about paying attention to something, an email, a text. Maybe you have something that came and it looks like it's coming from the Center of Disease and Control, the CDC. This was a new tactic that they had capitalized on the uncertainty surrounding the coronavirus. They would mention now it could possibly be getting your booster shot and, send money here or get this appointment set where you would be, thinking that you're doing the right thing, but you find out you're not. So if the email they send you, if it looks real, but it's not from CDC, those who clicked on the link would end up giving the criminals your email credentials. Instead of clicking on anything that you think might be CDC, and I do this, by the way, folks, for all my important emails I get, if I have a slight inclination that something I didn't request or order, I will go to the official website. So do this. If you are uncertain that you're getting something from the CDC and it doesn't look real, go to the www.cdc.gov for the most up-to-date and accurate information. This is how you can protect yourself. I know sometimes it might seem like a shortcut, following their link, but that's what you want to do with that, and avoid opening emails from unknown vendors. I know you've all heard this, but it's really, really common. So it's often forgotten. This next slide, I really wanted to spend some time on this real quickly too. I used to work in a branch that was across the street in Orange County from the Ziggurat building, where it housed the IRS building and their offices. And I found this really interesting because one of our members worked for the IRS and she had come into the branch, and I was talking to her about how many times I get these calls and how I'm going to be arrested because I owed back taxes. And, at first I have to tell you, honestly, I was scared, like, wow, did I not file something correctly? And then when it said you're going to be arrested and taken away by the cops, I thought, okay, this is going a little far. I had this conversation with the IRS agent, and you know what she told me? She said she got that call too. She said that she was in her actual lunchroom and with colleagues, and she put the phone on speaker, and she said, can you believe this? They're actually calling the IRS. So not only do we get these calls, but the agents do too, which I thought was just really crazy. Of course, that agent told me, and I know you probably know this too, but just to go over these points, we don't want to respond to emails, calls, texts, and let's say it has to do with the stimulus with the government. They're trying to get you to give information over to them. So this is what I recommend. Okay, so number one, don't reply. 2, don't open any attachments they send you, and don't click on any of the links, of course. And another thing to keep in mind is if you signed up, and we just recently got our California middle class checks. You might be getting that if you qualify. You can go online and check for that. But a lot of times they'll use some type of stimulus rebate or gas relief that's coming back to you. I have to tell you, 9 times out of 10, you'll probably get that back in your account as an auto pay or as a direct deposit, I should say, or they'll send you a card. If not, go to the official website. Don't let them fool you thinking that you have to contact the IRS or the state to get that money. So be careful of that. And another thing, I know the agent shared this with me, is that IRS would never demand any specific payment method or require immediate payment. They don't work that way. And the IRS agents will never ask for monthly payments payable to anyone other than the US Treasury. Do we get any testimonials there? If you ever pay taxes, right? So they'll never contact you. So I know I went over that quite a bit. I'll have some information later if you want to report phishing at irs.gov. If you do get something that a text or an email and you want to report that to them, they would be happy to take the information so they could share with the general public on what's going on with that. So they do appreciate the feedback. So the big takeaway there, they contact you, maybe you're contacted by the state, thinking that you're getting your middle class rebate. That's not how they work. And they would never ask for your account information like that. Just call them directly. On the next slide here, this was really big at the onset of COVID. They had offers with home testing, vaccination kits, but these were scammers that, including immunity boosting your immunity for the virus, or websites offering masks that would never come, right? People wanted to maybe get their own testing kits. It was just a wild, wild west for them to try to get your dollars, right? And you would never receive what you thought you're paying for. So at this time, there was not an approved test, but now we do have approved tests. Big takeaway here is to go directly to your local doctor, local government. I know you can call, if you have an HMO or a PPO, contact them and ask them about approved tests. They can give you, believe me, they have a lot of information at this. So many people have become interested in finding out whether or not they have the coronavirus antibodies. Of course, we do know there's a new test. There's a test that's been available for that. So just a big takeaway, tests are being conducted in hospitals, doctors' offices, and approved drive-ups. So we know that. So I know a lot of us are aware of this one. So we'll avoid being taken advantage of or sending our hard-earned dollars. And the next one I wanted to go over here is practicing caution when donating. I know I got a question last week. Someone was asking me, what is one of the bigger scams that are going on this time of year? Well, people are taking advantage of people's generosity. And because of that, you know, sometimes we might let our emotions prompt us to contribute to a charity without vetting that charity. So we definitely want to make sure we're cautious, check the legitimacy of the organization. Okay, and I hope no one will donate by gift card. Okay, so I do the MS walk for a girlfriend of mine every year, and I go right onto their website with MS, the organization. They make it really easy, very secured, and I know I'm giving money to the right cause. So do press for information about the charity if you're being contacted, right? There could be someone that has legitimate, they want to get money raised for something. Research them and ensure that they're legitimate. So that's number one. If you are curious, you could even use the charity navigator. I'll have this at the end. That has thousands of charities that align with your passions and values. But what I like about it is it also has, it vets them. So you could use a trusted charity preferred donation. The data is provided by IRS and partners. So that's another one, Charity Navigator. And then use only a trusted charities preferred donation system that I mentioned. Never donate by gift card. And then, I think the emotion too, if you are being pressured, don't ever feel pressure to give money. That's one too, that it's about giving and making the world better, right? We shouldn't have to be pressured into that. So if it doesn't feel right, that's probably a red flag. Just discontinue the communications and maybe go directly to whatever institution you want to donate to and vet them out if someone's pressuring you over the phone. So I will have more information on where you can check the legitimacy of giving to charities at the end. And here's a big one. If you get anything from this webinar, please don't give out information such as your credit card numbers, social security numbers, bank account information to a caller or unsolicited caller or text or email that you may receive. Oftentimes, people pretending with good caution. Oh, yeah. So they're pretending to be who you think you would hope they'd be, but they're not, right? So we don't want to give them information to make a donation. Check the legitimacy of the organization and then never donate by gift card. So we got that one. We'll go to the next one now. This is the one I meant to be on. So don't give out personal information about anything, right? As a financial institution, and I've worked for several banks as well, it really just breaks my heart when someone comes in and they were taken advantage of. It could be they could have said they were Microsoft support and they needed to do an update, and they came in as if they were helping them, but they weren't. They were actually coming in and phishing and stealing their private information. I remember having members that had been victims of that. We definitely do not want to give out any information. Once it's out there, especially your social security card number. Scammers, we know they send fake texts. They try to trick us. my mom's girlfriend was just on a cruise, and she got nervous because something looked legitimate. It looked like it came from Amazon, and it asked her to confirm a purchase she recently made. She made a purchase, but it wasn't that purchase. And she ended up giving account information over to that fraudster, and it ended up taking a long time to unwind. And she may not get all the money that she was a victim of. So definitely, I know I get that knee-jerk reaction when I get something sent to me when it says some possible fraud. I just take a deep breath, I take a step back, and I really analyze it. I put my thinking cap on and not my emotional cap, and I look at that message, and almost every time it's fraud, right? So I'm going to give you some pointers at the end of where you can send that if you do get a fraud message. Now, some messages might say this. Another big scam they have is that you won a prize. Oh, we want to send this to you. We have, it might be a gas gift card because gas is so expensive, or you want to go on vacation. But then they're going to ask you, oh, we have these small taxes to be paid in order to get this prize that you won. Of course, they want your bank account information, and you're so caught up in winning that prize that you're like, okay, it makes sense. You have to pay taxes on it. Definitely do not provide them information, because that is a very common one. You could even ask for an address to where you can send a donation. I wanted to get back to that for a donation to verify the legitimacy of charity. I wanted to mention that on the prior one too. Okay. And then the next slide here is about being aware of coronavirus stocks. I actually have some friends that are financial advisors, and ignoring phone calls or emails. My buddy was talking to me about this. It was a hot new coronavirus. Hey, this coronavirus stock, you need to invest in it. At best, and my friend, and check with your financial advisor when you make any purchase with regards to stocks or bonds, of course, right? We never make any decision without advice, but it's always best to avoid penny stocks. Those are stocks trading for less than $5 per share. That's even more true now because promoters of those penny stocks are praising small companies with COVID-19 angles, saying that this is the one that's going to release the mighty cure forever, right? You'll never have a coronavirus. So we don't want to fall victim to these, and they rarely end well as well. So that's just want to be aware of that. So anything investment related, consult with your financial advisor. If you're a member of SDCCU, we have a complimentary financial wellness advisor that can go over your strategy and what you're looking at accomplishing. It's always good to get the second opinion whenever it comes to investment, especially now, right? We work so hard for our money. We don't want to be losing any money if we don't have to. And then the next slide is about avoiding clicking on unfamiliar links. You probably have heard a common theme here, but I go as far as checking the email's address if I do receive something, especially internal, my work email or my personal email. I make sure my contact information matches that name, and I try not to click on anything on the computer. I know maybe your place of work does this, but I know our IT is very robust, and they will even do practice emails to see if anyone falls to clicking on something they shouldn't, right? So they keep us abreast of new and quick ways these you received a UPS delivery, click here to check the status. You're expecting a UPS and you want to click on it. We know we don't click on it, right? I definitely will not do anything like that. I know if I sent or expecting a package, I probably have a link already. So, and do not try to download files from unfamiliar people or avoid opening attachments. I know you've probably seen now in your body of your email, it'll say, do not open attachments, right? Unless, they're familiar, you know who they are, you're expecting something. But again, still check the email, the contact person, because sometimes that can be changed. And maybe they think that they know that you're expecting something and they're going to try to get a fast one on you. If you're unsure, and this has happened to me too with our back office, maybe HR was sending an email and a big email didn't come out, a mass email saying it's okay to click on. I would check with my management, and they're always so appreciative that I check, that I'm taking that extra step. And if at least do that or get a second opinion. And if you're at home and you're not sure, I say this too for people that are working at home, if you want to call or text someone and check with a colleague if you're uncertain, or your IT department. So definitely want to be careful of anything unfamiliar. And here's a really big one coming towards the end, is about reporting a scam. On the next one, we have this one as to be proactive. This is very helpful for all of us. Be proactive about protecting your personal information, and it's the best approach, right, to staying away from scammers. You can report suspected fraudulent emails, calls, and texts. Did you know that? I just did this today when I was preparing for this presentation. I actually did get a fraudulent text, and I sent it up, and I was going to show you where you could do that today too. At the end, I'll make sure I give you all the links, but for this purpose, for this slide, you can go to the Federal Bureau of Investigation Internet Crime Complaint Center, and it's really easy. I'll have this available for you. It's www.ic3.gov. And we could put that up on the screen at the end. And I'm going to give you the other one too, where you can text. If you get a text that doesn't look right and you know that it's fraud, I did this today. I was able to send it up, and they really appreciate it too. Let me give you that one too. I just wrote that one down. Let me find that one for you. I'll come back to that. I know I wrote it down, but here it is. If you get a fraudulent email to you, a text, you can copy the text. And I just learned this today, and I put it in a message and I forwarded it to 7726. That could help your phone provider block similar messages in the future. So that's 7726. And I got to thank you. We appreciate that. Another one is you can go to the FTC, report fraud.ftc.gov. Report fraud.ftc.gov. Why is it important to do this? You may ask, in our busy lives. This information is all put together and it's shared. The media outlets that we're on right now, a lot of newscasters will share what's going on. It's great for the Federal Bureau of Investigations. It helps them find these fraudsters and prevent crime, right? So that information is shared, calculated, and they're able to, prosecute. That's why it's important. So the best process to have with filing a complaint, when filing a complaint, here are some tips. Make sure you have the victim's name, address, telephone number, and email. Now, this is if you're filing, right? So if you're the victim, would be you. Maybe you're doing it on behalf of your parent. A lot of times we're looking out after our parents. They might have been victims to this. Then you also want to include the financial transaction information. What did it have to do with? Account information, was it transaction date, amount, who received the money? So you're going to connect the dots to that, right? And then the subject's name, the address, telephone number, email, website. If you have it, the IP address is really good, and any specific details on how you were victimized, okay? Of course, any other relevant information you believe is necessary to support your complaint, that information will then be tallied and shared with the authorities, right? And they will go after them. I know we've done some other webinars with former district attorney Greenwood, and he talked about that. Paul Greenwood talked about how they collect that information and share it, and they're able to prosecute on some tips that they get just from, the FBI and the IC3.gov. So that information is very valuable. We can prevent one other crime from happening or someone being scammed. It's just wonderful, right? Keep us all safe. And then I'm coming to the final here on the last slide was about more assistance. As a member of SDCCU, you have access to Balance. And Balance is a financial education counseling service. So they include money management, counseling, debt repayment options, and credit report review. That's available for you. So take advantage of that. If you need more resources too, SDCCU can help you with that. We have some great websites that I'll take you to on our financial knowledge page. I'll get to that on the next slide. But we definitely want to make sure that you have all the tools available for you here. So on the next slide, I was going to show where you can go. At the beginning, I was talking about this is part of a series we do every Wednesday called the Financial Wellness Wednesdays. And we'll just have a lot of information on different subjects. Here you have the sdccu.com/FWW. Once you go there, you could also see our financial knowledge page will be nearby at the very top of that page. And we'll have some very helpful blogs on many different topics too. But thank you so much for this. I know there's a lot of information, but I just wanted to make sure I just touched the kind of all the hot points here of just making sure during the coronavirus, any checks that you're accepting or expecting to receive. I know I was expecting my middle class rebate to come in. And it could have been as easily as someone saying, hey, send me your account information. I'm from the state of California, or check your status, click here. I could just have said, oh yeah, let me do that. But I was patient. I went to the official website. I was able to find the time frame. But you just want to be very careful. Scams are on the rise and they change all the time. So a lot of resources that we'll be able to share with you at the end. I have a resource page too that Paula will have.
Thank you very much, Mark. This was definitely very informational, very helpful. As you said, scams are on the rise. What I do want to let our audience know is, first, we want to thank you, of course, Mark, and thank you everybody for watching. We have some time where we can take some questions. If you have some questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat, and then our team behind the scenes is going to be sending those over to us, and I can ask them of Mark. But Mark, to go ahead and get started, for those viewers that we have that are watching, and then also I wanted to let them know that this will be posted online later. If you could let us know a little bit about SDCCU.
Absolutely. I'd be honored to. So we're one of the nation's top credit unions, proudly servicing the needs of our members in Southern California. I like to say this too, because I've been attending a lot of benefit fairs, and it's the number one question I get. How do you become a member, or do you have to belong to a school or a military? What's so great about this credit union is we have an open field of membership. So everyone is welcome in Southern California. And I just wanted to share what counties that includes. So like Imperial, LA, Orange County, where I happen to be. Hello, anybody out in Orange County? Riverside, San Bernardino, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura. So we have over 40 convenient branches, and we're part of a network too, a co-op. So you have access up to 30,000 surge charge-free ATMs. That makes getting money really convenient. I know the 7-Elevens, Costco's, and you can go to any other credit union's ATM and it doesn't cost anything. We have breakthrough banking products for online, especially like our online platform is wonderful. Our free checking with e-statements, mobile banking, you can take a picture of a check and make a deposit. You can set up your account online too for convenience. We also offer not only mortgages, auto loans, visas, but business banking services too.
Thank you, Mark. And then before I get to some of the other questions, because I do see some coming here, it's under the Q&A where you can go ahead and send your question under that tab. I do see some coming in here. Just real quick, for those folks wondering, who can open an account at SDCCU?
Yes, so everybody's welcome. So if you obviously if you're under the age of 18, then you would have an account, a teen first account with your parent. But 18 and over, anyone that lives in any of the counties that we serve, so all of Southern California, you can open an account. So if you live or work in Southern California, that qualifies you. And then if you're under 18, I've done a lot of school webinars and been out there. So a lot of the teenagers want to be members too. So they're welcome, and their parents can come in and have their first teen account, which is a great way to start out your financial trajectory and learn finances. And so I recommend that if you have teenagers too, to sign them up for that teen first account. We have a teen first free checking, doesn't cost them anything.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for answering that question. One of the other questions we have, and I believe you may have addressed it during the presentation, so perhaps we can share this information again, is when you receive a phishing text, what do you do with it and how do you stop it? So maybe we could share that information again of where we can cut. You indicated that there's a way to send it to a certain phone number.
Yes. Thank you, Paula, for going over that, because I just learned this today too, because I've been getting, I'm sure like you and everyone maybe on this call or on this webinar, we're getting a lot of them. One thing you don't want to do, I just want to say the don'ts. Okay, so never call back if it has a number, or never click on the link. So if you get an unwanted text, there's 3 ways to report it. So here are the 3 ways. You can copy it, you can hover over it and copy it on your phone, depending on the device, as you would, like you would on a computer. It has that copy function. And then you can put it in a new text, right? And paste it there and forward it. You're going to forward it to 7726. I did that today. My provider happens to be T-Mobile, and I received a text back from that after I did that. And I was just going to read it, what I got. So everybody, this is what I received today. So this is what I got, just to share the reality of this. I got a text saying your card was, and this is so funny how they spelt this, AUTHORISSED. They were trying to spell authorized. Your card, so that's always a dead ringer, right? When there's misspellings in this. Your card was authorized of $2,268 for a Canon camera. And it said that at Amazon, not you, report, right? So normally I'd be like, wow, oh gosh, I better report this. Nope, I didn't do that. I copied that, put it in a separate text, and then I forwarded it to 7726. And then I received a message saying, thank you for reporting spam. We'll take it from here. If you have questions about what happens next, it has a T-Mobile spam. So that then I could at least give them a heads up of what's going on, in reality. So that's number one. You can report that to the 7726, which will be your wireless provider. They'll get a copy of that. Report the messaging app you use, so that you could do that. You can report that through the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, report fraud.ftc.gov. So it's reportfraud.ftc.gov. So that's another thing you can do with that, with those type of spams that we're receiving a lot of.
Thank you very much, Mark. For our viewers, I do want to let you know in the chat, we're putting these URLs and these links and these tips and information that Mark is mentioning. We are putting them in the chat if you want to go there quickly and then jot them down as well. Thank you for that information, Mark. And also, would you advise that they not click? Sometimes with some of these phishing and some of these scams, if it seems too good to be true, is it better to be cautious?
Yeah, I that's the way I run any type of too good to be, like an old professor once told me, right? I know it sounds obvious, but if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And won a prize, or I have you could have the winning lotto Powerball ticket, not happening, right? In reality, right? So, and if I think at some remote chance that I entered some type of prize, I would then call that official number, whatever corporation. I would do some research, vet them out to make sure, did I in fact enter this? Was I know at benefit fairs and different things, we have raffle prizes, right? That if they ever get a call from an institution saying you won a raffle prize, it would make sense. I was at the benefit fair. But if you're receiving something that you never attended or doesn't sound familiar, it's too good to be true. You definitely do not want to give them any advantage of speaking with you. I would just hang up. Don't give them any information, not even speak with them. I go as far as not to even answer any unfamiliar numbers. Because you know what? At the end of the day, if someone wants to get a hold of you, they'll leave me a message, an email, they'll get a hold of you.
Yes,
So, yeah.
that is that's very, very true, and very good advice and information, Mark. We have another question here. It says, I recently signed up for Zell with another bank using a unique email address. Within a day, I started getting spam to that unique email address. Any knowledge of Zell having a flaw in their security?
That's a really good question. I received that as well.
Oh.
I have, I did not click on any of the Zell links. I know it's working for what I use it for. So I know what you're saying about getting all those emails, and a lot of them seem like phishing emails. But what I would do is I would go to the company itself, and you can even contact them and find out if they are trying to contact you. But most of the time that would be a phishing email or trying to capture information, right? If it's already working, it's not broken, right? So there wouldn't be a reason why they would be trying to get a hold of you other than to if it's a scam. So I would check the main website and do some research before and not click on anything they send you, right? Because usually with Zell, it's very user friendly. I found it anyway to be that way when I set it up, and it's usually inside a financial institution's website. If you're on their platform, that's the way I've opened it. That's the way I've used it. So I know that it's vetted, it's used properly. I haven't used it outside of that, but if you want, I could maybe do some research to get back to you on, if you have the particulars, I can maybe do some research on that for you too.
Would you like us to share your email again in the chat? If you can share Mark's email, Rachel, in the chat again, that way folks that are interested in taking a look at that, they can see it there. And I think I have it here. Let me see if I can find it on screen. Your email, mbancroft@sdccu.com. That's the email for Mark. Thank you very much for offering to do some research and answer these questions. There we go. There it is in the chat. Here's another question. What do I do if I accidentally click on a phishing link?
You know what I would do? I would just shut off the computer right away. I just yesterday had my personal computer. I do this every quarter. I go through like a reboot to make sure I have the Geek Squad come and verify everything's working fine. I know if you clicked on something that's unfamiliar and you have your antivirus or protection, make sure that's running to verify there's nothing on there. I know when I did my quarterly tune-up on my own computer, that's the first thing they do is they check for malware, or they run your antivirus software. So I would shut it down because you don't want it to cause any more damage, right? Because if it's seeding anything, and then when I turn it back on, I would run the antivirus to make sure that nothing's being executed, right? If you have, the antivirus, I'd run that and verify that. That's what I would do.
Yes, because sometimes these emails that we receive also can be very tricky. We think it's from a company we work with or we know, but then instead of ending, for example, in .com, it might end in .net, or instead of ending in that, it ends in something different. So it's very important to verify who the email sender is. And, as you indicated earlier, sometimes they can be tricky and just change a a letter or two in the email address, and we're going through life so fast sometimes that we may not
Yeah.
catch that. Another question we have is if you have any suggestions on secure sites you can use to store personal documents such as wills or insurance.
Oh, for particular sites for that? Um,
Yes.
you know, I try to think. I know I don't endorse any, of course. I would check with if you have a paralegal or an attorney that would direct you better. I would recommend always going that route. Maybe if you belong to a chamber or someone that can provide you information. I know people have shared with me, like LegalZoom and those different ones, but that's a major thing when you're doing a trust or anything, to really have a second set of eyes and a legal mind looking over that, to making sure that that's airtight, right? Especially now, you want to protect you and your family. So I would seek at least paralegal or attorney's advice, or someone in that, that does that for a living. You could probably find someone at the chamber pretty quickly. I know we belong to a lot of chambers, and I know there's a lot of trust attorneys that be happy to even provide like a free consultation, or at least direct you on what they think is best, because everyone's so different with their financial setup, to make sure it makes sense, because it could make sense to spend money, you know, to protect yourself in the end, if it's more complicated, by having an attorney take care of that for you.
Yes, plus there's also a
Yeah.
lot of, important and confidential information that would go into
Yeah.
a will and in your insurance. So very
Yeah.
good advice. Thank you very much, Mark. Another question, do banks or credit unions compensate loss due to a scam in the same way that they would do perhaps for fraudulent credit card charge?
You know, um, I'm not in that department. That's a really good question. I could get back to you. Yeah, that's what's so great about SDCCU. We're a full service financial institution, so we do everything. But I could definitely speak to that department to find out what the process is involved with that. I'm not quite sure if that's handled the same way, but I'd be happy to get back to you on that.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Yeah.
But again, as you were indicating, the best advice is to, if you're weary of something, if you're not trusting it, if it doesn't seem legit, if it's too good to be true, just
Yeah.
don't click on it at all.
Yeah.
We have
Definitely.
another question. What is the best advice to handle a voicemail or an email or a text that you received from someone claiming to be from Amazon, stating that there's an unusual purchase on your account? And this is something, especially right now with the holidays coming up.
Yeah, so with that, I would call their customer support number directly right out of the gate. I wouldn't even pay attention to any of the phone calls at all. And I would, because you have an account where you can go on to Amazon, where you could even check your status on there in your profile. But you could go directly to them and call them as well. I have, and they'll be happy to check to make sure if anything looks a little suspicious for you, or if they were even trying to contact you. I received something similar the other day, stating they were my credit card provider, and they weren't, right? I had obviously that feeling. You have that intuition about things that don't seem real. And if you're getting something like that, you probably know that's not real either. And I called my financial institution, and they told me we don't have any record of any fraud or any question. So that I looked back at the voicemail and, read it again, because it comes up in the writing, and it didn't make sense, that so it was obviously them phishing. So definitely do not contact them or call them back. Just go to the main source. That's
Especially
I always
nowadays with,
have. Yeah.
yes, thank you. Especially
Yeah.
nowadays with so many of us using Amazon and some of these
Yeah.
other delivery companies or companies online to make purchases, especially right now during the holidays and with the pandemic that we just went to. Here is another question that we received. What are some tips for avoiding fake job scams?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. I've had a lot of friends that, during this 2, 3 years that maybe been furloughed, and a lot of them wanted to get back to work pretty quickly, right? So they were looking for jobs, and then they were being asked to schedule an interview, and everything seemed right. But then it got a little crazy. They were interviewing them for their financial information. They were asking for, their, not only their home address, but like their social and different things that you would normally not ask, not at the beginning of an onsite of an interview. So what I was looking this up too, here are some suggestions when you are looking for a job, is to use a separate that email address for your job hunting, right? Just keep that separate altogether. So if you have Google email, maybe that's, your Gmail accounts where you have that set up. Set up a free voice phone number to keep your personal number private, right? Keep your personal number private and have that other voice. You can get a free good voice number that's available. What I found too, especially with these working from home, or maybe a company saying they're ABC Corporation, do you know? Well, you can call directly. You can call that HR directly and find out what contact information they have listed for that organization, so you can verify the legitimacy of the job, right? So if they don't have a location in Southern California and they're stating they do, you already know that's a red flag. So you already can vet them. And again, I can't say this enough, is never disclose more personal information than you would on your resume, right? So you don't have your social on your resume. A lot of people don't even put their address on there, but I just want to keep that very limited. And then regarding, I have another information on that too. I want to just pull up in a second here, is examples of job scams. The working from home to generate income is one of the bigger ones. Reshipping scams, when you're searching for a job online, they might see positions advertised for controller, a manager, for virtual personal assistant. A lot of people got scammed by that. Sometimes they'll have addresses that show overseas, so, and the host goes on, mystery shopper scams, job replacement services where you have to pay money for them to find a job for you. So all of these you want to be very leery of to avoid the job scam. So do your research online, talk to someone you trust, describe the offer, have a second set of eyes, look at that. Don't pay for a promised job. Legitimate employers, including federal government, will never ask for money to get a job, right? So anyone who does is a scammer. And then never bank on a clear check, right? No legitimate potential employer will send you a check, then tell you to send money back, right? They go as far as that. So those things we want to be very careful of.
Thank you. That's very, very interesting for the job seekers as well. Changing subjects real quick, I think we have time for about 2 more questions. How do you avoid a romance scam? This is an interesting question.
Oh, yes. Yep. And former Deputy District Attorney Paul Greenwood was talking about that. And I know he has a special webinar just on that. But here is something you want to avoid with that romance scam. Consider making your social media profile very private. This is where these scam, where they're trying to infiltrate your information by knowing where you shop, where you go on vacation. I have some friends that won't even put down when they're traveling because they don't want someone to know that there's no one at home, right? So a lot of information is like an open diary. When you think about it, your timeline and everything you've done and said and is in there. They can use that information to pretend to be someone they're not. So you never want to share your personal information, financial information with someone that you've just met, right? About what's in your 401k or the home you own, avoiding details that you wouldn't share with someone you never met before. Now, these guys, and I know Paul speaks to this, they can be really smooth and be, be like your best friend, maybe shower you with that attention you had never received before, you hadn't received as much of, and now you're maybe melting by their love that they're giving you. But they have one thing in mind, is that's to defraud you. So you don't want to fall victim to that. I really, take the emotion out of it. Maybe set a schedule face to face, get to know this person, but be very cautious with your financial information, and providing any information that you wouldn't a stranger, like stranger danger, especially when you're talking to them on a phone or through a website. They 9 times out of 10 will not be the person you think they are.
Thank you. Very, very good information for all of us to take into
Yeah.
consideration. And one other question, what are some ways, actually two more questions, what are some ways to keep your kids safe online for those of us that are parents, grandparents, that have children in our lives?
Very good question. Yeah, one of the most important steps you can take to keep your kids safe online is to be involved. Provide the supervision over your children when they're in front of that screen, right? Because that's opens to another world. So I have relatives that keep and I always wondered why they keep the desktop in the kitchen. It makes sense now, right? They wanted to watch their son, daughter online. I could see, my sister-in-law keeping an eye. Of course, prior to keeping a physical eye online, they were making it a priority to explore the internet with their kids, setting parental controls. There's a lot of parental controls. You can set time limits, where they can go and where they can't go, where you can get notifications, where they're going, the history. So I found that really helpful by putting the parental controls and then keeping the physical computer turned outwards so you can view it when you're walking by, or if you're preparing a meal, you can keep it in the kitchen area so you have an eye on what's going on. And then talk with your kids. What are they using the computer for? Is it for social? Are they going to social media sites? Talk to them about what they want to download, right? And share the conversation too, that the stranger danger online, how people can pose to be someone or something that they're not, right? They may not be a kid, they might be an adult, right? Never give information. Check your phone, let them know not to have the location where the device is sharing the location. You can change it on the parental controls too. There's a lot of tips you can go online to get more information about that, but definitely be involved with your kids to make sure that everything is buttoned down, that you're part of their exploration of the internet, and you're doing that safely, just as you would out in the public, keeping them safe. You're doing that online because you're involved with them.
Thank you, Mark, especially nowadays when children through school and also just in general in life, and now currently through the pandemic we just passed through, where kids were online more than ever in the past. One last question to close is in regards to your credit report. Why is it important to check your credit report frequently?
Oh, thank you for asking that. That is one of the best tools you can use to catch fraud early. Uh, I just did a webinar for a school, and one thing I was saying too is even if you haven't had credit, right? So a lot of the students I was talking to, I recommended to the kids to go check their credit. Here's why. A lot of times, especially when people haven't checked their credit, think about this. Someone can apply for a loan using, if they're able to capture your information, your social, all the pertinent information they need to apply for a loan. Guess what? There'll be an inquiry. When you go and you can check your credit for free at annualcreditreport.com. And incidentally, I wanted to say you can do this weekly. And this is all three bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. This is the one source by law that provide you an annual one, but now they're doing it weekly through the end of 2023. So this will show all your credit history. It's like a report card on how you're doing as a student, right? But how you're doing as an adult, or as maybe you're just acquiring your credit. But what will show on there is if any credit was maybe applied for. If there's credit you don't recognize, that'd be a huge red flag. You have a credit card that you show a balance, but that's not you. You can dispute any of these items. You definitely can put a fraud alert on that, but it's very important to be mindful of where your credit is at all times. I make it a habit. By the way, the annualcreditreport.com does not ding your credit. So it does not impact, it does not require a credit card. It's free. So that is all. And you can report errors to the credit reporting agency if you find any. It's common to have discrepancies, even when there isn't fraud going on with seniors and juniors. But it's important to keep your credit up, right? Because it can impact your interest rate and what you'll pay for things later on, for a car loan, a home loan. I can save you tens of thousands of dollars. But more importantly, too, is to avoid any headache with someone trying to, impersonate you and try to apply for credit. That's one thing I do right away when I go to the annualcreditreport.com is I zone into inquiries. If I know I haven't applied for a credit, auto, mortgage loan, there better be nothing, right? And if I see something, then I'm going to contact the bureaus and put a fraud alert on my account and evaluate that. So it's very important to keep your eye on that.
Good resources and good information. We did share also in the chat the links and some of these organizations that you were mentioning as well. I also wanted, Mark, to let our viewers know that this recording of this presentation is going to be emailed to the people that are watching that registered. So anybody who's a registrant attendee will be receiving the recording of this webinar. And also the webinar is going to be available at san diego union-tribune.com/san-diego-business.connection. So I wanted to make sure to inform them of that as well. And Mark, thank you very much for sharing this information. Very helpful, particularly with scams on the rise. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, Paul, I just wanted to thank you for having me on today. And I just want to let everybody know too about San Diego County Credit Union. We love to be your financial institution. If there's any way we could, we have we offer mortgages, credit cards, home loans, and we're a full service credit union. And we're very involved in the communities that we serve. We're very passionate about helping our members, and we welcome you as a member if you're not already. and I wish everybody a happy holiday season too. I just wanted to say one thing too, Paula. One thing that's really close to my heart is Presents for Paws. You can go online, Presents for Paws with SDCCU if you want to make a donation. So we're collecting money for our little fur animals, so our fur children.
So it's paws with the PAWS, as in
yes,
for pets.
Yeah, that's right. PAWS, right.
I showed my hands like little paws, like the pet. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much for this information. This was our presentation from SDCCU. Thank you very much, Mark, for taking the time to prepare this and for being with us today. Again, to all the registered attendees, this presentation will be sent to you via email, and we will be having it online as well on the San Diego Business Connection. You can see more information also in the chat. Thank you very much, Mark, for sharing this very information on how to protect your finances from scams. And thank you all very much for tuning in today to the San Diego Business Connection Seminar. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.